you?
I'm all right. I'm cool. I'm feeling a bit ragged as it goes. I'm feeling a bit self-conscious. I went to get my hair cut yesterday and it took off a little bit more than I wanted. So yeah, I'm just feeling a bit. Do you know what I feel like? I feel like one of those America's Next Top Model girls. In it, you know, when they cut the hair and start crying.
Why do us as women always do this to ourselves? We
I know.
find so much critique about ourselves. But look, we started. I believe that we're live, and look at us ready to have conversation. Go on, you apply that lip balm because
Oh
I don't
yeah,
want to have,
just a little
sister.
bit of Elizabeth Arden won't catch me slipping. Do you know what I mean?
Okay,
I'm
okay, right.
wearing, taking care.
Right. So we've started, I believe we're live. So we need to say hi to
Mm-hmm.
everyone. So, first of
Hi
all,
everyone.
welcome, hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Wherever you are in the world, we are saying hello to you. This is Pride Inside, and it's brought to you by Amnesty International, Gender Intelligence, Stonewall, Para Pride, and of course, UK Black Pride. Today's conversation really is about two Black women who call themselves sisters, who just talk about everything and anything and really touch on how we're coexisting in this world, which feels really challenging at the moment. I think that,
Mm.
just by starting though, Kachenga, I think for me, this is a message to all of the Black women who are listening right now,
Mm.
just to say to you, we see you, we hear you, we feel you, and you're not alone. You are not
Yeah,
alone.
as
It's a
always. Literally, like, I've never. Yeah, that's never been in question. Do you know what I mean? Even though, you know, the shade room and the breakfast club, they might pit us against each other, but like at the end of
Mhm.
the day, um, when no one else has been down for me, Black women always have. So, yeah, I've never lost sight of that.
So, Chinga, look, for those who don't know who I am, I'm Philippa Kojima, co-founder and executive director of UK Black Pride, also known as Lady Phil, and I have the amazing, the incomparable, the intelligent, the beautiful Kachenga. Would you like to just tell
Oh,
people a little
thank
bit
you. Oh,
about
I thought he was going to bring someone else in, you know. It's like, literally, I thought he was going to say Naomi Campbell. And I was like, that's
I ain't got nothing on you. You're fine. You're fine.
it. Oh, what should I tell them what I'm about?
Yes. Let's hear a bit
Cool.
about you.
Sure. Hi, I'm Kachenga. I'm a writer. I'm a journalist. People call me an activist. I prefer to call myself a bit of an agitator. Do you know what I mean? Just it's a bit poking the bear, just like make a few points. As it goes, I'm from North London. I grew up in Haringey Enfield. Right now I'm in Germany, mainly in Berlin, but I'm in Hamburg right now.
Mm.
Um, and I'm writing my first novel. It's a story about a young black trans girl from North London who, yeah, just is caught up in a lot of sexual scandal and drug addiction and stuff, and is on a mission to prove that she's a descendant of Admiral Horatio Nelson. Um,
Mhm.
so yeah, I'm working with a great my writing mentor Nikesh Shukla. He's like wicked. I speak to him once a week, and that's been great. Um, yeah, I think that's the gist of like where I'm coming from and what I'm doing right now.
I mean, you're also known as the Lady of Letters. Come on,
Yes.
you're a black transsexual activist, who's also
Thing.
a feminist. Don't downplay this, Kachenga.
I mean, no,
Don't.
it's not that. It's just, the labels are a lot to live up to. Do you know what I mean? Like, at the end of the day, like, I'm not Barbara Smith. Do you know what I mean? I'm not Angela Davis. I'm not Bell Hooks. Do you know what I mean? I read, but, yeah, I just feel to own those titles, you've got to make sure you're putting in the work on a daily basis. And
Mhm.
I think my approach to life it's not lackadaisical, but I just you know, my mother came over as part of the Windrush generation. My grandma worked for London Transport for 25 years. My paternal grandfather fought back to get our family lines from white supremacist colonial settlers in Zimbabwe and stuff. So, in terms of where I'm coming from, it's a hard graft, hard working, self sacrificing, three jobs. You know what I mean? That's where I'm coming from. And so, they worked really hard for me to afford the education that I got for myself. But I also am so much more focused on rest. Like I feel we've proven so much. And I just, you know what, I think it's probably because when I grew up, I had such ambition to I drank the respectability Kool-Aid. I really did. I was all about that juice. I was, all about getting the grades. I wanted to go to a proper white middle class sixth form at to Camden Girls, boo. Do you know what I mean? I was swishing around Selfridges. I was, on dates in Mayfair, boo boo. Do you know what I mean? And I was genuinely feeling I'm gonna be different, I'm not like you lot, okay? I don't complain. Like guys learn how to speak like them and everything, and I just so because the rewards were paltry and it didn't pay off. And then I also feel a bit of I felt traumatized by watching what Michelle Obama went through over the course of those 8 years. To have a dark-skinned black woman of that stature, okay? Like, all the Ivy Leagues, you know, appropriate hairstyles, like, work out every morning, perfect children, no scandal. And then at the end of it, they're calling her an ape in heels. Do you know what I mean? And like subjecting her to a level of masculinization, which I obviously relate to as a trans woman, but like at the same time, I don't feel like I do. I don't have a public platform of that level, but for me, like I got to a certain point and I wasn't, out here being called a man every day. And yeah, we can't say the same about her or Serena Williams, Sierra. So, in terms of the solidarity that I feel, it's because our best and our brightest have done it. I think it's that UK Black Pride campaign. Was it when Tam was saying the James Baldwin quote? Your crowns have been bought and paid for. I know, literally. Do you know what I mean? Like all the I don't feel like the need to prove myself in that way anymore. I can just rest, and so I'm not. I'm not
But you
able.
don't have to prove yourself, though. And I think when I look at you, when I speak to you, when I hear you, I'm in awe. And actually, you have been putting in the work. I am incredibly inspired by your journey and continue to be inspired by your journey. And you don't have to compare yourself to the likes of the amazing women like Barbara Smith or Audre Lorde or Bell Hooks, because you're on your path and you're on your journey.
Oh
And there's
no, I get that. Yeah.
watching you, that's feeling you, and that's thinking, wow, those dreams, those hopes, those aspirations, if Kachenga can do it, so can I. So, how about holding those titles? I'm giving that to you because that's how I see you.
Thank you.
And not giving it to you like only I can give it to you, but giving it to you because you embody those words, you embody those titles, and you've done a lot for our communities. And I say communities in the plural sense, not just the one community. So I do have a question for you.
Yeah. Thanks. I'm choked up, but thank you. Yeah.
Don't be choked, sis. Don't- you
No,
know,
I don't hear that. I genuinely don't. I don't hear that sentence very often, even though like it's the truth. But yeah, just people don't make the effort to say that to me. So thank you. I really appreciate it.
you don't have to. Oh, you know what? We're live right now, so everyone's hearing it. And if you are not following or don't know of Kuchenga's work, what have you been doing? So please get
Google
on.
me. Okay.
Yes, you work with your friends sometimes. Sometimes. But
Sometimes,
look,
sometimes.
it's a really trying time right now. And
Mm,
we're doing Pride Inside through UK Black Pride, and we've got a number of
mm,
other amazing activities and a big event in
mm,
August. And it's COVID. People are on lockdown. Part of our
sure.
reasoning for working and doing things this way is to be a lot creative and innovative
Mm,
and connect in different ways. And with Pride's locked down or cancelled or postponed, we can't help but to think about loneliness and isolation. So
mm.
I want to know, what is it that's really giving Kuchenga that optimism right now? What is it that's motivating you? What's giving you hope?
Hmm. Um. Like I'm glad that you said communities because I belong to so many. I've been sober for 4.5 years now. Is it four and a
Mm,
half? Yeah. So I have, a collection of um people who, are, in the struggle of like how to stay sober every day.
mm,
I'm rolling with, the most marginalized people in society, like black trans sex workers, that's really who really has been down for me. Because the thing is, when when you're linking someone and they let you down, whatever, I'm just because I'm held by the most marginalized people and because of what we've gone through and stuff, I don't have the embarrassment to pick up the phone. Do you know what I mean? Like, yeah, you let me down again, babes. Do you know what I mean? I'm on a train back as it goes, in tears. And so I'm really held by my people them. And um I'm a big reader. I always have been. I read as a matter of survival. Well, actually, I read as a form of escape because the assault and the violence growing up was so virulent. But
mhm.
coming into my own, like, I was telling my therapist the other day that I read Waiting to Exhale when I was like 10 years old. Like,
Wow.
it's like I know I knew a little bit too much. As it goes.
Wow.
Yeah, man. Like literally, yeah. No, I was down. Like by the time that the soundtrack and the film came, that's the soundtrack of ages. By the way, that soundtrack, my gosh. So I was in communion with like black women in my day to day life, but also like just in terms of the diaspora. Do you know what I mean? Like I was in Louisiana, I was in Georgia, I was in Harlem, I was in Brazil, I was in Nigeria, I was in Ghana, I was in South Africa. Like, I was always like in touch with like so many amazing black women around the world. And so the shift from the real world onto the digital, I was already kind of doing that. Do you know what I mean? Like particularly for me, like when I began my medical transition, because my social transition had begun before, but when I began my medical transition, I was like, and I was so hard on myself. Do you know what I mean? I'm like, I'm gonna take this seriously. I'm really gonna do this. Okay, no messing
Mhm.
about. And so I really depended on Tea Time with the Girls, the Tea Time Network, the YouTube platform. Um,
Brilliant.
and yeah, so I did Tea Time. I did 3 episodes myself. I did Tea Time London with a few of my mates. But years before that, Ashley Breathe and Fox Giselle and Milan Zanotti and like, you know, they were these incredible trans women of color who were just so real, just so authentic, you know, and yeah, they became my friends and stuff. And so because I had this, do you know what, I'm about to say spiritual, and like Oprah would say, yeah, no, it's fine. Like, yeah, I've got a soulful relationship with these women that I've only known in the digital realm and stuff. So that was around what year were we in, 20 years ago. So it was, yeah, like 5, 6 years ago. And stuff. So I was really holding on to that every word. So for me, the loneliness has been exacerbated. I miss human touch. Been like, because I'm single,
Mm.
because I'm in a different country and everything else. But in terms of my contact with people, that's actually increased.
Right.
So yeah, that's what's really kept me going. And I've become a lot more declarative on social media. Like, I was always very conscious of not wanting to rock the boat, not complaining. So I didn't really speak about my unemployment. You know, as soon as I transitioned, like, I was just became instantly unemployable for every job. Do you know what I mean? That's like, you know, and other stories, you know, paper chase, um, national, like here, like, you know, like every publishing house you could think of, literary agency. Do you know what I mean? I was just not the one. National
Mm.
Trust, that's the word I was thinking. Yeah, that's the group I was thinking of. So I like that Audrey Lorde quote, you know, that your silence won't save you,
Mhm.
sort of thing. Like, took me a good 5 years of, you know, smarting in like seclusion, not sharing my pain with anyone. And then because of this current political moment and seeing other people saying what they've gone through in various different industries, I felt like it was time for me to do the same. And I've been justly rewarded for that. The amount of love that I've received. Um, you know, I received all the money that I needed for the end of my transition and everything. So my community has very much been there for me in a number of ways, in practical ways, in financial ways, in social ways, and yeah, I know that I'm being held, regardless of the fact that I'm not with people.
That's beautiful to hear. And when
Mm.
you said that you're single, you're looking out that window or that door like someone's coming to pick you up. I'm like, okay, who is she looking at? Who's pushing her away this time?
Listen, I'm ready to get serenaded, bitch. You know what I mean?
So silly, really.
let me get my my little connector on. Do you know what I mean? Throw it out the window, throw down your head.
Start cane rain, start cane rain.
Literally.
And not box braids, as some people call it, once they've culturally appropriated it. So, so Katanga, look, so gosh, I think people have tuned in and they're hoping to have this academic, real theoretical
Oh
conversation.
god.
I think that whilst we've been in this lockdown and people are saying socially distancing, I think for a long time we have always known about social distancing as black
Mm.
people, as black
Yeah.
trans people, as black
Mm.
lesbian people.
Mm.
So physically distancing is what we're doing, and I
Mm.
think that's what can be tough, especially where you just mentioned the human contact. And
Mm.
yes, I miss being held, I miss giving a hug, I miss just showing some love and appreciation in so many
Mm.
different ways.
Mm.
I wanted to just flip the script a little bit, because we're hearing at a time where it's Pride season, and some people are being very performative about, oh my gosh, we need black trans people to come and speak because it's really
Mm.
important we hear their voices. Of course, it's
Mm,
important, but performative
mm,
is not what we need and what we want. And,
mm,
the same names keep on coming out again and again. Marsha P.
mm,
Johnson, Sylvia
mm,
Rivera. And I'm adding
mm,
Stormy to this list
mm.
because often she is not spoken about.
Yeah.
But
Mm,
what are some of the names of not even just trans Black women, but mainly trans Black women that we
mm.
don't know? That our viewers who are listening don't know. And how do we breathe life into their stories?
Um, in terms of who keeps me going, um, I listen to Marsha's Plate, the podcast, religiously. That's a Black trans podcast coming out of Houston, Texas. Diamond Styles, Z, and Maya. And so for like an hour and a half, 2 hours every week, they talk on, pop cultural topics and like social and political issues that are pertaining to Black trans people specifically, but the LGBTQIA community more broadly and stuff, and they deserve more. Also coming out of Texas is the trans griot Monica
Mm,
Roberts, who has done so much incredible work around legislation and policy change in Texas that pertains to trans rights, but is um, on the front line of the Black trans women getting murdered, who will be misgendered um, by the police and the media and the legal system. And so she does the important work of making sure that not only are they gendered correctly, but that being able to use the names that you know they've chosen for themselves,
mhm.
because it's important because like if someone's misgendered and they're using their old name, I don't know that, but like I don't know that person. Do you know what I mean? So being able to get the news out to us as a community is just so fundamental to like just giving us the opportunity to like know that someone's looking out for us. um Janet Mock saved my life when I took her book Redefining Realness into rehab, and she's getting hundreds of thousands at Netflix, I'm sure, and she's endlessly beautiful. She's got a lovely boyfriend. She's writing, producing, and directing for Pose. Um, but her book, Redefining Realness, is not only does it have all of the gender 101 stuff that people are always asking us on panels, like, she's just it's such an incredible memoir. It's most beautiful life writing, and I'm sure I've heard her mention it, where she speaks about, just being a student, a daughter, a sister child of Maya Angelou, that when we write, we just adding ourselves into the mix. Do you know what I mean? Nothing's fresh, nothing's new. Do you know what I mean? So you're picking up the baton or you're sewing your patch of the quilt. And in terms of breathing life into them and their work,
Mhm.
I don't have that privilege, to be honest, to imagine that I can. All I can do is distribute, publicize, market, whatever. Unfortunately, because I have been kept out of various institutions and kept out of leadership roles. If I was a commissioning editor, somewhere special, if I was on an arts council board or whatever, deciding where the funding's going to go, I think that's really what I would like to focus on, because of course it's performative. Like there was Malcolm X, like was like reading them, in the 50s. You know what I mean? Like he was coming for white liberals way back then. So nothing's like happening that's not expected, and the commodification of radical movements and stuff. Like, I mean, I'm glad that there's been this sea change. That's great, but like I'm in Hamburg. I'm like, I'm just walking, driving past signs with Black Lives Matter on them, and that's fantastic. That's cool. At the same time, it's 2020. I remember, like, even 6 months to a year ago, same Black Lives Matter was like a swear word. Do you know what I mean? So, like, it's kind of like when Toni Morrison wrote The Bluest Eye, and she was saying that her motivation for doing so, writing it in the period of the Black is Beautiful, kind of movement. Let's everyone time to go natural, back to Africa. My beautiful Black queen. As it goes, it's always been you. Whatever. And she was saying that, okay, this is all nice and good. I remember when it wasn't nice to be Black. I remember when Black wasn't beautiful. Okay, like, and to tell that story is really important. At the end of the day, sorry.
No, there's something that you have said, and you have just breathed life into those stories. You have just told us about many different writers, platforms, podcasts, and that's what I mean by breathing life. Just by the sheer utterance of somebody's platform, you breathe life into it. I hear it, and then we go and search and we support, show solidarity in many different ways. But I do want to go back to something you said. As a Black lesbian woman, an African lesbian woman who is unapologetically me, and I've learned to switch off that code switcher. I can be who I say I need to be at any given time. And of course, not everyone's going to like it. But you said you want to focus on those spaces that hold the power to be the commissioning editor, to change the trajectory of where the funding goes to. Let's explore that a little bit in terms of looking at things through an intersectional frame.
Yeah.
Through the fact that, speak of white fragility, and white privilege, because obviously those spaces have been carved out and have been built and not necessarily built for us. So how do you navigate that? Or how could one navigate that space?
The thing is, I'm so actively excluded that it's not even a thing. No, I remember I went to the South Bank with my sister to go watch a play, and just before we go in, just having a glass of wine, I was eating my little ice cream. She just looked at me, she goes, "You're so comfortable here." So I was like, yeah, why wouldn't I be? I think I always had such strong bourgeois aspirations growing up. And so when I started having sexual relationships with white straight men specifically, I was watching how they move and how they didn't have to think about things that I did and stuff. But I also was adamant that I was gonna rinse them. Okay, like literally, I got into these relationships and I was like, I want resources. Like literally, I just didn't see. People would like cuss me out for being a gold digger. I was like, okay, like, why? Is that meant to hurt my feelings? Like, I don't know.
You know that we're live, right? We do know that we're live, right?
Yes.
I can't go back and edit this.
You're all good. Literally, I was raised in the era of Heat magazine. Okay, like I would love for people to be retweeting this. Like, let them know as it goes. No, I went to Lil Kim's finishing school. Okay, hardcore for school of hard knocks. Like, don't come for me. Like, at the end of the day, I got into these relationships. I saw that they had more power than I could ever dream of. And I utilized them like toadstools. All right, okay, you're going to send me to rehab. You're going to pay for me to go back to university. You're going to, you're going to give me enough money so I can have some time off. I'm going to sit here in silence and meditate until I'm ready to write my truth. Like, even being a writer is such a privilege, and I don't think I would have become aware of what was possible for me if I hadn't not only had those bourgeois aspirations, if I didn't go to the schools that I went to and things, but I basically I found myself with the money and the time to write. And I feel
Mhm.
like, we speak about being an artist and creative in such flowery, frippery ways and stuff. But those of us who have, fa- mo- those of us who have found the time and the space to write are in a position that so few people get to enjoy. And so
Mhm.
I I can't. Thing is, it's because I've had so many white boyfriends and stuff that white fragility doesn't. It just doesn't deter me. Like when they're having a little moment, I just in my mind just give them a timeout. I'm like, okay, like do you know what I mean? It's cool. Let's I'll wait for you to wind down and stuff because I don't have that luxury. Do you know what I mean? I'm very clear. It's very clear to me where I'm oppressed. Okay, I don't really care. Like in
Mhm.
terms of people having preferences, whatever, I don't care about all that. Do you know what I mean? I want to be with someone that likes me. Do you know what I mean? So if you don't like me, if you don't like black people, if you don't like trans people, whatever, I don't care. Do you know what I mean? It's really for me, it's the bank balance that really kicks it. That hashtag publishing paid me, that
Mhm.
licked me into the floor. I couldn't believe it. Do you know what I mean? Everything that I'd been gaslit and told wasn't true, and you just need to work a little bit harder. And maybe if you wrote this way, and why don't you put that character? And just to see the truth of it, that it doesn't really matter what you do, like within this system, like you're just not going to be privileged in that way. But because I was able to use my feminine wiles and stuff, I was able to find a way to get what I needed out of the men that I had in my life. Um, and that might be really venal and really vulgar to point out, but I don't like to lie. I don't want any girl to look at me and think like that what I got was easy to get, or that that I just got it because I was at Foyles every weekend. Like that was part of it. Like I think doing the reading um, was always pointed out to me by the black feminists at university. You got to read, and yeah, reading Bell Hooks's Rock My Soul, Black People and Self Esteem. That changed the course of my life. I looked up at my bedroom walls and saw that I was choosing to not put myself there. I was
Mhm.
never going to like a guest model. I was never going to be, my frame's never going to be that skinny. Do you know what I mean? That's not going to be me. And so the self education that took place at university, because I wasn't, the decolonize the curriculum stuff, so important. Okay, we cannot wait for them to decolonize the curriculum. You've got to just do the reading beforehand, you know, um, and stuff. So yeah, there's a lot of self education, a lot of hustling, and just irreverence. To be honest, like the bleating and the judgment and the like how many times did I hear like, you'll never be a woman, you're never gonna look like a woman, you're always gonna like it's gonna be horrendous for you. No one's gonna love you. And to have the self-preservation, the self-belief to listen to the divine feminine voice inside, um, which has always refuted everyone from the age of 3. Do you know what I mean? Like no matter how loud those voices outside of me were, my voice inside was actually louder. It wasn't a
Mhm.
whisper. It was inconvenient. But I was, yeah, like my inner child is rambunctious and yeah, like loud and demanding and stuff. And so I always
I don't
honor
think that's
her.
just your inner child. I think that that's the you that I know.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
not just the inner child. It's the you that I know, and
Mm.
let it let it shout out. Let it talk as loud as it needs to. But Kachinga, so can I ask you this?
Mm.
In in the wake of everything that we're seeing, that we're going through, that
Mm.
others are going through, and especially our trans siblings,
Yeah.
I'm trying to find lots of different ways to be resilient. I'm trying to find
Mm.
lots of different ways to stay positive. I'm trying to find lots of different ways to center and keep myself grounded. And, I'm
Mm.
seeing the way our communities are coming together. Of course, not
Mm.
everyone, and there's work to be
Mm.
done. But what is helping you, and it kind of links onto the earlier point, but what is helping you feel grounded, and how how are you responding to your siblings that
Mm.
are constantly under attack? And I don't mean that in a lazy question, because like
No,
somebody
I
asked, how
hear
do I
that.
feel about George Floyd? Well, I was like,
Mm.
well, how do you think I feel? So I mean it in, how are you feeling? I genuinely want to know how
Mm.
you're feeling.
Um, I'm not doing too well on that front. I think the grief is overwhelming. I thought I was doing okay until Paula Akman, um,
Yeah.
she interviewed me for her Vogue article,
Mm-hmm.
and she asked me a question about Toyin,
Right.
and I broke. I felt so bad for her. Do you know what I mean? I was full blown bawling on the phone. I couldn't hold the sides, and I think the reason that broke me, not only because of the details of her murder being so gruesome, but also just her being in the flush of life, defending black trans life herself. Like to be, you know, fighting for Tony McDade. And you know, like I just felt like I just feel like I knew her. I feel like she's my cousin, she's my niece. Like I don't. It's just I can't make sense of that. Throughout the Pride Month, we've lost a black trans girl to murder. you know, every week. And I mean, like, when I don't want to do any spoilers. Do you know what? It's season two. If you haven't seen season two of Port Pose yet, that's your fault. You've been slacking or whatever. But when Candy died, like I was like, this is. I'm really grateful that um this story is being told retroactively. I might have had some creative grace. I mean, that might have like done a little differently, whatever. But at the same time, um, it's in the same way that a lot of the police brutality stuff is just now being filmed. It's not a new phenomenon. It's just now on camera for people to.
Kachenga, have we lost you? Kachenga? So this is what happens with technology. We are live, so please bear with us. But I hope
I
that you're there.
I am. I'm back in the room.
Okay, you're back. So you need to stop looking out that window because he's not coming right now because we're having a
I can't
conversation.
help it. I know. Do you know what it is? Let me show you what it is. It's like there's like all of these like ships and boats and stuff. I'm by
Oh
the port
wow.
in Hamburg. It's just so romantic. And yeah, so I'm looking out there because like it's just helping me focus. I'm sorry if it's like it must seem
No,
like a little
no. Carry
stuff,
on
but yeah.
looking. Now I know what it is because I'm nosy. I have to see what you're looking at. But you were in mid train, and
Mm,
maybe it cut for a reason, and I'm
mm.
totally leaving it to you if you wish to
Oh,
continue.
that, I know. Yeah, I know where I was saying. I was saying that that police brutality is now on film. It's not a new phenomenon. And I was saying that with Poe season two, with the portrayal of Candy's passing, I was glad that they did that retroactively because there were years where the girls were just getting killed and it was dust, silence, no one cared. So the fact that they're a part of our public consciousness, um, it's a step towards an end to the violence. I hope. We've identified where the problem lies. But at the same time, I feel we spend so long, like, hand wringing and, begging for them to stop killing us. And I feel what I'm most encouraged by is the abolitionist discussions, the defund the police discussions, and the awareness, the increased awareness of like human trafficking and stuff. Like, I don't. The issue that I have with Black trans murder specifically is that I forget the name of the girl who does the meme. Who's that girl who does that meme? Who that gif? Um, Skinny black girl. Um, like yeah, she got beautiful eyes. You know what I mean? Anyway, either way, she was like in the supermarket shopping with a friend, and someone was like, someone joked saying that someone's gonna think that you're trans or whatever. She's like, oh no, oh god, I don't want to get shot. And it was like
Wow.
this throwaway joke and stuff that was way too flippant, for the current moment. But what I also wondered is, okay, these men are killing us and stuff, and then they're coming back into our communities. You think that everything's just hunky dory and cute? Do you know what I mean? That's like, this is like, these aren't serial killers. These are no Ted Bundys. These are your uncles, cousins, lovers, husbands, and
Mm.
they're bringing that violence back. Do you know what I mean? Like maybe they're not burying you under the patio in the garden, but do we need to do some sort of study to show the increased rates of like domestic violence of in the lives of these men? Do you know what I mean? Like we're all impacted. So just because you're not the one being shot today, don't think that everything's cute and cool.
Yeah,
um, yeah, like at the end of the day, I feel it's everyone's concern, and
absolutely.
like the way that violence is inculcated into the very beings of these men. They know no other way. Like we because of the Jerry Springer phenomenon, and they need to tell them, and she needs to like they need to start tricking and whatever. And like I don't know how many more times we need to say it. They know, okay, literally, they are hunting us down. They know what's tea. It's not an issue. Do you know what I mean? I used to because I got caught up in this myself, thinking that that the lack of disclosure was a cause of the violence and stuff. And then, like because I'm so upfront, I'm so out there, every social media, you know what I mean? I'm out there and stuff. And these men who are linking me, when things go left or, some things upset them or whatever, they will accuse me of being deceitful, duplicitous, whatever. Like, quite after the fact. Do you know what I mean? So we've given them a narrative not even a get out of jail free card, get back onto the streets free card. Like they're able to do all sorts to us and then just go back out onto the streets, and there's no justice for those that are victims of their violence, and that's encouraged. And then that
Mm.
violence is now being passed on. So yeah, I just feel like that's what I want, these abolitionists and these defund the police discussions to really take place. I was really encouraged by that documentary, um, The Feminist on Cell Block Y. I think it's on
Feminist on Cell Block Y.
The Feminist on Cell Block Y. I can open up a tab and have a look.
And this was about the
This was
documentary.
about, yeah, this is a documentary set in prison. Yeah, that's it. And it's basically a man on the inside who starts just like um just a feminist theory like reading group on the inside, like and workshops, and these men just begin to talk about the way that their lives have been soaked in violence you know from day dot. And that's what I find most encouraging, to be honest. Like, unless you're like doing this voluntary work, that's maybe because I've volunteered in different for different things. I've worked on community farms. I've used food banks, and I've given food donations away. I'm right to trans girls on the inside. I'm connected to trans sex workers here. Like, I feel like when people say, "Oh, so, what can we do?" or whatever, I'm like, get out there. Do you know what I mean? Like, there are literal jobs. Unless you're gonna go and volunteer to give up your time to go and change the life of someone else, then I don't really have the time for the chit chat and the theorizing and
Same.
whatever. I don't. It's dull. It's really dull. Like, get out there, get out on the streets, go and volunteer your time and give of yourself because you can afford to.
You're hearing it right here. And I think that over this Pride season, but first, let me just say to you, Kachenga, thank you for sharing, because when you talk about grief, sometimes
Mm,
it unearths trauma and it unearths so many different feelings and emotions. And it's okay to not be okay. And we know that.
mm, mm.
Whether we're in the same space or you're in Hamburg and I'm here, wherever I am in my little area, I'm
Mm.
holding you and I'm seeing
Thank
you.
you.
I've been
That's
holding.
standard. You have
I'm
been now for decades. Literally, I remember. I always bring up that
I'm
first
only
Black Pride.
25. Do not push it now. You're on a good roll, Chicken. I'm only 25 here. My
Taking a
God.
nigga in a minute, do you know what I mean? Exposing people out here, babes. No, but I have to show
Rebecca.
honestly, like the way you held me when we went to Southend for the first UK Black Pride.
Oh,
What was that?
yeah.
2006?
No, 2005.
Was it five? Oh God!
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, when we got that coach, oh my God. And like I was so, I mean, talk about loneliness. Oh my God. I was so lonely. I was so lonely, and I couldn't believe it was utopian. The space that you created is utopian for so many of us. I was like, I felt I was discarded. I was homeless. I'd come out to my family, and I was, living in hostels, and things were falling apart, and I just felt so discarded, and I'd lost all contact with the black community. Do you know what I mean? I was like, to go from Harringay, Enfield, then I was living in a hostel in West London and stuff. I was too scared to even go and get my hair done. And then yeah, to come to Vauxhall, get on that coach, be
Yeah.
listening to Bashment the whole way, to get the thing and stuff. And this was obviously back when I was drinking and like winding up on man and having them buy me drinks and everything. Like I cannot tell you what it meant for me. Like it wasn't just like giving me hope, or you gave me myself back, to experience black love in that space. And like, I'd been objectified and I was being used and whatever. And I'd not really met any, I just didn't think like a relationship with black men would be possible. I'd not had any other contact with black lesbians, black gays, black queers, black trans. I really hadn't had any contact with anyone. And yeah, so it was so high octane, so colourful, so exuberant, so nourishing and stuff. And it just completely changed my vista, what was possible and stuff. So like because of that experience, I then went online and then I was like, yeah, I'm gonna go to Atlanta, I'm gonna go to New York, and stuff. And yeah, I really felt like I could like that black love meant so much more to me, in my
Mhm.
transness, my queerness and stuff. I thought that because of the path of self affirmation I chose, I'd been compelled to choose my transness over my blackness, and
Mm.
to find a space where I no longer had to face that choice, where I could be both. I am both. I didn't need to assimilate, sublimate, code switch away from myself in order to get through the day and stuff. You gave me that and stuff, and yeah, we didn't know each other at all, but I remember you walking through and stuff. And there's something about your spirit specifically and stuff, like because it's the lack of pretentiousness, it's the but just a regality and stuff. And when you gave back them, was it an MBE or an OBE?
MBA.
Yeah, Santos. When you gave that back, I was like, whoa, okay, okay.
You know,
Well,
it's because a queen cannot bow to another queen. So I just
well,
thought, I'm not going to do it. But Kachenka, I'm trying here to keep my lashes on. I'm trying to hold it together. And you have just summed up what feels like 15 years of absolute sheer joy. The UK Black Pride team and I have and continue to create this space which is by us and for us. And your
mm,
explanation of it, I'm going to have to ask the team to capture and put that in a sound bite, because that is that is what UK Black Pride set out
mm,
to do and sets
mm,
out to. So people do not have to choose between their transness and their queerness, or
mm,
them being a lesbian and being black, or them being gender
mm,
non-conforming and a black
mm,
person, and being any
mm,
number of things that where our
mm,
lives intersect with each other. So
mm.
I appreciate hearing you, and it's such a nice segue because we've got 3 minutes before we close. I can't believe I've got like loads of questions for you, but I
I
can't believe
know.
we've got to, nearly 8 o'clock. Is it 8 o'clock or six? Yeah, nearly 8 o'clock. And
Mm.
yeah, what 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 would, and Kachenga, you've got 1 minute to answer
Mhm.
this.
Okay.
What would Kachenga say to her younger self right now?
Oh, um, honestly, I would have told myself to read more broadly. Um, yeah, I was voracious and stuff, but I always felt really self conscious, and I always felt like that my path of like educating, like that I that I was gonna erase myself if I if I like dedicated myself um to learning about others
Hmm.
and stuff, and so I didn't. I put off. I put off learning about myself for too long. Um, so yeah, I would just say, yeah, just you're, yeah, you deserve to know where in the world you're going to be happy.
Beautiful.
Mm.
Kachenga, you know that I love you very dearly.
I love
I have
you.
so much time and admiration and respect for you. And, with compliments like that that you give me, I'm only going to marvel in them this evening. So I want to say thank you so much for taking the time out to be with us, UK Black Pride, in Pride Inside. I want to tell you to stay safe and tell you to stay well, and that as my sister, your struggle is my struggle and my struggle is your struggle. And I'm
So,
holding you as tightly as possible. Trans Black Lives Matter, and this
um,
grief and this pain that we continue to face as Black people broadly needs to be dismantled in so many ways. We can be resilient, but we can't be so resilient that we're constantly going through grief. So I want you to know that I love you very, very much.
thank you, Phil. I love you.